Morning guys, Touchcomic again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, Rostermania is well and truly underway. Los Angeles Thieves, after a couple of days of consideration, have reportedly chosen their replacement for Kenny in their starting lineup. Some other drama though elsewhere as well. Cloud9 apparently nuking their whole team. Everyone on that roster is apparently set to go. Very much enjoyed your thoughts and comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. First of all, congratulations to Scump and his wife on their firstborn, Jack Jordan Abner. It was a talking point of the weekend that Scump was away. In many respects, actually makes the weekend's viewership numbers even more impressive. There was a bit of talk about this. I don't really think we've ever talked about this before, but the COD League tweeted 2044 Major 1 champ. Now, look, who knows? Are we still going to have a COD League in 18 years' time? I think it's unlikely that it will be anything like it is today. I just thought it was interesting because I've not really ever thought about this. In regular sports, it's a common phenomenon, right? Oh, this guy's the son of that guy. He was a great player. Will he be the same? It happens all the time. But those sports have been around for hundreds of years in many cases. In COD, in esports in general, it's understandably not really a talking point. But, you know, we do have Drazah, Scump now, among others. You know, like aBeZy, I believe, among some like Slacked maybe, and among some other players. I'm not saying that they will go on to play COD or whatever, but who knows, I suppose. Maybe I'll still be sitting here talking to you guys in 18 years' time about Scump's, Scump's son's debut or something on the main stage. Somehow doubt it, but I guess time will only tell. This is another big update of the day. So, COD Champs 2026. The arena they're choosing can seat 12,000 people. Now, the biggest event that we've ever done in COD, I think, was at Vegas a couple of years back, talking like 6,000s. I think the event in Allen wasn't too far away either that OpTic did back in 2024. It was crazy in that venue. But apparently this year, we're going bigger and better. Not just for Champs, but also for Major 4. So, talked quite a bit this weekend with some people about this Major 4 event in Paris, and even Major 2 in Birmingham and how big that's going to be. Reportedly, that Birmingham event, coming up in, a few weeks' time now. I mean, too many weeks, really, given we've just had a great LAN, but it's right at the end of March. It's going to be something like twice as big as last year's DreamHack Dallas. And for those that are DreamHack Dallas, at least for the COD side, there's quite a lot of people in there. And it's going to be apparently twice, something in that ballpark. But that doesn't even come close to what they are hoping to get at Paris at the end of the year. Now, the number that I heard this weekend was actually 20k. It may be in a 40,000 person arena. I don't think they're going to, I mean, that would just be ludicrous. I don't think they're going to sell out that many tickets. They may get to 20, they may get to 12. Whatever it is, I think it's basically guaranteed that between now and the end of this year, we have the biggest ever COD event in person. Paris are the ones trying to do it. And it would be amazing if they make this happen, right? Given that that will be the event before Champs. It's going to be sensational, I'm sure. Ben J says, look, just because that's the biggest number possible doesn't mean they're going to fill the stadium. But as far as I understand, they are going to give it a very ambitious attempt, the gentlemates, and as well they might. We know how crazy those fans can be, and if the team can keep up their level of performances, then it's going to be an absolutely sensational event. So this season started off definitely on a hot note, and those are some remarkable numbers if we can get anywhere near them this season. But let's talk about Rostermania, because few interesting teams that are making changes, or not, as the case may be. Toronto Koi, they bombed out of this weekend top 12. There has been talk about should other teams be reaching out about JoeDeceives, should this roster, drop ReeaL. I do wonder, right, like, let's say hypothetically ReeaL gets dropped. Do Miami pick him up again? Do you think that bridges burns? We know that there obviously was some heated words exchanged after the verbal agreement and all this, but would they say, sorry Trakes, but we did do pretty well with ReeaL last year, we're going to bring you back in and squash the beef? Or do you think that they don't want to go down that route? I'm not actually sure what they would do. But for now, that's not relevant because ReeaL is set to stay. I did have a brief chat with CleanX this weekend, and he said, look, he's open to swapping the roles and trying on the SMG again. He also mentioned, and we'll talk about it in greater detail later today, the meta. The Dravek isn't really a sub in the traditional way. CleanX was actually a big fan of when the NPC was getting used in scrims. I think he was using it quite a bit. But then that was gone. He was kind of back to this flex role, and it looks like just swapping CleanX back to a sub and ReeaL to the flex. I think this is a sensible approach. I think you've got to try this before you do anything else. My understanding also is that the team doesn't have the same coaching staff that they once did. They used to have a fair few guys over there, including Joe Pinnington, like Ginger Joe. Maybe with paying ReeaL more money or something to, I don't exactly know how the monetary side works, but we know that they gave ReeaL a big pay boost to leave Miami. Maybe that's affected things as well. But if they don't deliver in these upcoming qualifiers in the next major, then they will surely have to do something. But is it going to be, if they do have to do anything properly, as severe as what Cloud9 are doing, which is blowing up their entire roster? Now, QK is apparently its top target. We'll talk more about him in a second. He's been on the Falcons Academy doing a particularly good job. But apparently after the major, now there's also a couple of things to say here. Some teams won't make changes because they have to pay money to do it. If you drop players, you've got to pay them, I think, 2 months of salary or something on top, which means that it does cost you money. Now, look, if you're a serious franchise, that's not a big deal at all. But for some of the poverty orgs, it's like, well, that's another 2K that we don't need to spend. Let's just keep rolling in the trash at the bottom of the league, I suppose. But thankfully, it does appear that Cloud9 at least have some ambition. And they are looking, after they lost all those Game 5s in the first stage, to make some serious changes. Now, remarkably, as Roddy says in the article here, the initial plan was to get rid of just Vivid, which is hilarious because Vivid's always the guy that gets dropped, and he is getting dropped again, but it's not just him, it's apparently the whole team. Now this is interesting. We don't have a tweet from Mack yet, but he's not tweeted much in a long time, so I'm not really sure how much to read into that. We do have tweets from all of the other players, however. Would you keep Mack? I think that was the big debate after the major. I think everyone knew that Cloud9 have got to blow it up. The question was, all right, who do you keep? Do you keep Mack? Maybe the greatest takeover potential on that team. Maybe he had the best moments online and on LAN combined of everyone. I think Afro still is he has been the potential man, I think, for several years. When he's got his opportunities, he was really, really good in Vanguard. He was excellent, I thought, at Cold War. But when he's had his opportunities in recent years, it's not really worked out for him. And I don't know if this really was last chance saloon for a number of these guys. Afro and certainly Beans. I feel like Beans just got broken by the Mercules thing. I can't find another explanation, really. But Vivid says, free agent, it is what it is, and move forward like always. So, can you believe it? Vivid gets dropped again after feels like the millionth time. He's, I think, played for 7 CDL franchises, and he might well be eyeing up an 8th because he's never played for Surge. Maybe they'll make a move. But apparently Surge, they don't want to spend any money, so they're just going to run it back with their roster. We'll see if they change their mind on that. Bean says that I'm now locking in. Don't worry, guys. The fire's been lit. I'm focusing on myself and I'm locking in. It's tough for Beans. I think Beans and Afro, both of them, will have to... Look, the benefit they have, they've got the visa with Cloud9. Presumably, they can stay in the States for at least some time to come and play in North American challenges. Challenges, a lot of eyeballs this year, lots of notable teams. If I was Beans or Afro, I'd be trying anything to get on a particularly notable challenges team. Talk to Zuma, talk to Zinni. I don't think that's going to go anywhere really with Huntsman's approach, but... Look, talk to Rafi at Omid. Just try and find a way onto a top team in challenges. Absolutely fry and make it so that you're kind of undeniable to get picked up again at some point, because must be said, when you have players on a team which is underfunded, really, like Cloud9 are only here because they're part of the Esports World Cup program and they want COD to be a part of that. That seems to be the reality of it at the moment. We know that when players are on those type of teams, they're not going to perform their best stuff. You put one of these guys maybe in with the Toronto guys or in with the OpTic guys or whatever, obviously it's probably going to look a little bit different in the server. So, look, it is what it is. It might not be over yet, but it might be for these players. But the full nuke is pretty interesting, right? Completely blowing up. It's like, okay, where do you go from here as a franchise? Did mention the other day to their top guy, actually, makes the calls over there, about the Rock Esports team, the Saudi boys. They won the Challengers Championship this weekend, featuring players like Khalid, of course that's Kicks, and the Dahoom boys as well. Now, they won the tournament, but the issue is that getting the visas sorted in time, probably not going to happen, right? So it is the players that have visas that have been settled in America for some time, they make some more sense. These were the top performers by KD of the Challengers Open. Only a few of these guys are SMGs, really. Okis, big standout performer, and he's definitely turned some heads recently. we believe that Neum, as we'll discuss right about now, is headed off to the Thieves, which will mean that there will be other options need to be considered by the Huntsman. The other key standout to me on this list really is Renegade. Renegade, very impressive, certainly on the SMG for Huntsman. From where he was at the start of the year to where he is now, you know, even if Renegade continues on a slightly similar trajectory, he will be in the league before we know it, right? Mentioned this to Zinni on Sunday night as well, and I don't think he's of the opinion that Renegade is going to get signed quite yet, but I would be pretty shocked if he doesn't get picked up by the end of the year, because not only has he improved drastically, but he's also a world champion in Halo, and the type of player that some teams could really use, I think, in some respects, and he's playing some great stuff lately, so he's a key name to keep an eye out for. Really, that entire Huntsman team, of course, they made it to the Sunday. Neum, Kips as well, I think, is also a name who will be in the conversation. Big Wake is here, Brack, the Dahoom boys, but QK topping the lot, tied with Neum. So both of these guys, when it mattered, had a big weekend, right? Neum dropped some great numbers, as did QK, and as a result, they are top of the conversation. My understanding is over the last couple of days, this is Kicks, by the way, and his numbers from the weekend, is that Thieves were weighing up their options. They were pretty sure they wanted to get rid of Kenny, that's how we currently understand it. But they had the option on Neum, but also QK was frying. So it's like, would they get him instead? Could he be a better option? You know, even someone like Renegade, I think, would be a very interesting choice for Thieves at some point. Probably not relevant in terms of, well, I think Renegade could probably run any role, as could some of the guys on that Thieves team. Something to think about for the future regardless, but not right now. We also, though, understand, as we mentioned a couple of weeks back, that they had an option on Neum. So they'd presumably paid some sort of money to the Huntsman and to OpTic to have an option after the event. They had roughly a week, we believe, to make a decision whether they wanted to sign Neum or not. Now, of course, as I mentioned at the time, if you pay for such an option, it's very tempting to take it, because otherwise you feel like you're wasting money, especially given that the idea would be, alright, if Kenny gets fried at the major and we don't have a good result, we'll take up the option. Well, guess what happened, right? Kenny got fried on the Saturday and they bomb out top 6, and it's like, well, it almost seems like a no-brainer, right? So that's what Ronnie is now reporting, that this is effectively now a done deal. They've had some talks about it, they've thought about what they want to do, but as he describes, in an unsurprising turn of events, Kenny will step to the bench, it seems, or who knows what happens with Kenny, right? Look, I don't expect Kenny to go down and play challenges. Could he still end up on a team, I don't know, Toronto? There was a bit of talk about that here. It would be a really sad way for Kenny, after a phenomenal career and all the things he's achieved, to go out after back-to-back .6s to get knocked out of the tournament in 3-0-3-0 fashion. That would be a horrible way for his career to end, but I don't think it would take away from the legacy that Kenny has built to a degree. But yes, I hope that Kenny stays around in some regards, but it does now look like this is happening. Neum to Thieves, Kenny set to be replaced. Is this a good move? Time will only tell. Neum, yeah, he's been slaying heavily in challenges, that is for sure. Does the Thieves roster need more slaying? Not, you wouldn't think so, given that they've got Scrappy, HyDra and aBeZy. But as it turns out, maybe they kind of do. And having someone who's not dropping a .6 in Crucial Series is understandably something that they want to explore. But, you know, ideal scenario for Neum in many respects if this does happen. Gets to play with some unbelievable players at his first time of asking. But also plenty of pressure in that environment as well, because as we just described, if it doesn't work out with Neum, there will be other players lining up for the opportunity to get into that team. So yes, very much enjoyed your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
I'm pretty sure the UFC fight was there. Was it not there? At Michelob Ultra? Patty? Was the Patty fight there? I'm pretty sure it was there. UFC O is at T-Mobile. I think this one specifically was at Michelob Ultra. I think this one specifically was at Michelob Ultra. So listen, chat. The biggest champs of all time. I don't know if we announced it. Do you guys know how many people it is? Do you guys know how many people it is? Chat. 12,000 people in the, not just Las Vegas, Chad. This is not just Las Vegas. We're talking 12,000 people in the Las Vegas Strip, bro.